Have you ever actually been depressed before?
Very, very, very short periods of time in my life after I did way too many mushrooms. This lasted for like days, thank God. But
How
yeah.
would you describe it?
The way that I've described it in the past is it maps onto a term called anhedonia. Basically, most healthy minds, 99% of the time you're living a life, you actually have a desire to be happy. You want to do things, or you want to do things, so you want to do things. You want to have that drive. And if you're super mentally, that internal drive to be happy is gone, and all of the other things that you thought were kind of like primary questions, you actually find that they're like second order questions. So for instance, if a person is laying in bed all day, you might ask, why don't you get up so that you can go outside and not be depressed? But for a person that's depressed, they're thinking like, why would I even not want to be depressed? I guess it's hard to explain, but I would say that when your mind is in an absence of wanting to pursue desires, I think that maps on really closely to how I would describe depression.
So I've only, like, I experienced, again, briefly, one was over a girl, one was over a job. But when it came, like, so my way of viewing it was that it felt like the things that should be making me happy, because I knew things like this game should make me happy, but suddenly I wasn't getting the dopamine, or like all I could focus on was that thing that was making me like depressed.
True.
And
Yeah.
therefore I couldn't get away from it. And so that if I tried playing a game, I can't even think about it. I can't have fun. All I can think about is that. And thus you end up laying in bed because there's nothing works. It feels like your brain's not working, and all you can sit there is laying there and just kind of stew in your own.
True. So I would say
misery.
that maps on really well to like lowercase d depression, like when you're sad. The nice thing
Sure.
about that, though, is at least those types of feelings have a root cause, which is nice. But
Yes.
with just depression, capital D, major depressive disorder, the problem there is imagine having that feeling with no identifiable cause, and it's not even like there's a hidden cause lurking, like, oh, I just needed to call my mom. I think that's the scary thing, where imagine if you were dwelling on something that made you miserable, but that something is actually nothing, and it's just the feeling of misery exists in you for no discernible reason. It's kind of like, have you ever had like general anxiety?
I mean, I don't think so. I'm not usually pretty anxious, but can you describe it
So
for me?
like I get anxious or excited, like when I'm writing manifestos or people are trying to end my career or whatever. For me, generally, that's an exciting feeling. I enjoy like the movement forward and the challenges and everything is like very exciting to me. General anxiety, though, is sometimes you have a really scary feeling is you have all the physiological indicators of stress with no discernible source. So you might just be like sitting in a living room and intellectually and emotionally, you're actually quite calm. Nothing is happening. But for some reason, it feels like an elephant is sitting on your chest. And you have, I don't know if it's cortisol or there's a hormone or something in you. You feel very much like on edge and uneasy, and maybe your heart is even, you can feel it, but you have no idea why. And there's not like there's no discernible reason why you should be stressed out. I think that a lot of mental disorders are scary, or not mood disorders, psychological disorders. Mental illness is scary because oftentimes the source of your agony is invisible or non-existent. It's your brain. Yeah. And when those sources exist in the external world, they can be dealt with. Like, oh, okay, I'm depressed because my girlfriend broke up with me. My dog died. I need to buy a new dog, or, start my sister, right? There's like something you can do in the world to improve your state of mind. But for mental illness, it's scarier because it's like, I'm sad all the time and I don't have a drive to do anything. And I have no idea why. It doesn't make sense. I feel broken, or like it just shouldn't be like this. And it's hard to identify that without like medication or therapy or a lot of like life restructuring.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I guess I've experienced that briefly in times like where I felt like angry, but not certain. Like I couldn't I'm like, I have no clue why I am. And you're just kind of like, if someone starts talking, you're like, hey, just so you know, I'm enraged for some reason and no clue why. Like, and I can't figure, like, and you're kind of sitting there until it goes away because you can't figure out why your own emotions are. Yeah, I guess that makes more sense because I've had a friend, she like, there's times where she just end up laying in bed all day, and like her boyfriend would be like, well, why don't you get up and do anything? And, like, where it's like you need to get out of your head, and you're like, that's the one place you can't get out of. That if your head is the thing screwing with you, you can never escape it because that's easy.
Yeah, and then there's two things going on there. One is that the question of why don't you get out of bed and do something. The problem is that because why would she want to? Who cares if she's happy or not? Like when you're truly depressed, you don't even want to be happy. That's the issue, is you don't have that really natural human drive to improve your condition, which is inherent to every healthy human mind. We always want to do things to avoid misery. But for a truly depressed person, they don't care. They don't even have the desire to be happy, which is the really hard thing. That's the first thing. The second thing is the problem, I think a lot of these, like with a lot of these mental illnesses that compounds it, is you often feel totally misunderstood because nobody around you actually gets that. Like, listen, like Like when you say, why don't you get out of bed and do something to be happy? Like if I wanted to do that, I would just do it, like obviously. And having that absence of desire or drive to improve yourself, and then having other people not understand that, makes you feel like increasingly isolated from other people because nobody seems to understand what you're going through mentally, and then you just feel even more shit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you, in my opinion, if you have a friend that has issues like that, if you're a close friend, like you just have to drag them out of bed. It can't be like, hey, why don't we get out of bed and do something? It has to be like, listen, you know, grab the wrist, pull them out of bed, like get showered, we're gonna go out, take a walk or whatever. Like you just have to like force them to move, and they'll be happier for it afterwards. But you can't like attack them or accuse them or like question why they're being stupid because they're literally mentally ill. Like it sounds strange because we feel like we have so much more control over our brain than not, but it's like asking a person who's sick of being like, why do you keep doing that? Like just stop. Or asking a person with the flu, like, why are you feeling nauseous? Just don't. Why would you throw up? That's so retarded. Like that's the same thing as asking a person with depression, like, why are you just laying in bed all day? Just get up and do something.
Yeah, something she said to me, like when she would get in a fight with her boyfriend after like kind of these episodes, is that he would like facilitate it. She's like, you'd bring me food in bed, you do, like, goes, I need to get out, and like it's not just that you're not helping, you're facilitating it such that I don't have to do anything ever. And you're like, once she's out of it, she's like, I needed to get up, and you kind of like gave me all the reason to stay in the bed.
Yeah. Although to be fair, it's really hard if you don't have a good understanding of like these mental illnesses. It's hard for normal people to understand like what mentally ill people even need. So that's a big high burden to place on a partner, because most people are like, yeah, why the fuck wouldn't you just get it? Why would you lay in bed all day? Obviously, you retard. It's gonna make you more fucking depressed. Like, go do something. But yeah, so yeah, it's hard for people in those situations to essentially become a caretaker to a significant other.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I've never had to deal with it, so luckily I'm not in that. But I have no idea actually how I would.